Hello.
Hi, you joined a bit earlier.
Oh wait, yeah, you can speak now.
Yeah, we're actually already live, so you can wave to everyone. Yeah,
Let me
because
connect my
sorry?
headphones for a sec. Uh, mm, I'm so sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah, we have like 9 minutes before we start.
Can you talk again? Like, yes.
Can you hear me?
I missed you. I just it's been a while since we last talked.
Yeah. So you can hear me well, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been a while. So how have you been?
I'm fine. I'm just doing regular stuff. Are we currently live on the YouTube, by the
We
way, or
are,
is it
yes. So like you
okay?
can see on my phone. So
Okay. That was a bit intimate.
yes, so I afterwards, after we finish the stream, I usually cut out the beginning, so only leave
Okay.
the presentation. But the 8 people who are watching right now, so they can see and hear what we talk about.
Let me also retweet what is if you have tagged me.
I haven't tweeted yet, but yeah, so
Okay.
I wanted to do this. Actually, I can do it right now. So if
Yeah,
you
that would be better, I guess.
smile, I'll take a screenshot.
Okay.
I just got a Mac, and I don't know how to make a screenshot on Mac.
It's Command Shift and 3.
And, like this is the most random combination of letters to make a screenshot.
Indeed.
Why this? So maybe I'll just take one more. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why people use Mac. Okay. Command Shift and 3. Okay. So what is the reason you like Mac?
I feel like it's very convenient. You know, the user experience is once you get hold of everything, by the way, as a disclaimer. But until then, it's a nightmare-ish.
That's what I because typically I use Linux, and
The terminal is very similar though, like the command
maybe that's the
line.
only similar thing.
If
So
you,
yeah,
if
this is
if you,
just everything is different. Like all the combinations.
I like the development experience on Mac, I guess. It's been so long since I have used since I've used Windows and other stuff.
Okay. So let me now find Twitter. Okay. Oh, finally. So now I will tweet. All this.
Struggling.
Okay. So
That's so funny.
because I use Linux, and in Linux Zoom doesn't really like Linux for some reasons.
Yeah.
So I thought, maybe I can give Mac a try and see how it works. So I got a Mac today at work. Luckily, I can just take it for experimenting. If I like it, then I keep it. If I don't, then I just give it back.
That's cool, and you don't like it already, I guess, right?
Yeah, so I'm kind of inclined to returning it. So I'll give it a couple of more days. But so what I want to do is I have an iPad at home, and this is super great. Like because I can draw, like do all this stuff.
Yeah, I bought it for, like giving some whiteboard streams for, data structures and other stuff.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. Like, what if I could do a stream and then draw at the same time? And
you can do it actually.
Yeah, I tried to do this on Linux, and yeah, it doesn't really work.
You can make your iPad a sidecar of your Mac, like a second screen and then just draw on your Mac instead.
Yeah, that's why
a bit
also,
laggy.
yeah, that's another reason I wanted to give it Mac a try to see how well it. Well, I assume like it should be smooth the connection to iPad.
Also, since we last talked, I started kegling. That's a big thing for me because currently I'm doing backend stuff in my job and I feel like I'm staying behind. So I thought I have to improve myself. So I started kegling.
That's why you disappeared from everywhere, right? Because you started kegling.
yeah. It ruins your work-life balance because it's both work and life.
Yeah, because you haven't done a podcast recently, right?
Yeah, it's because my work got really busy and but this week right? I'm doing and my masters. I've been working on this reinforcement learning project, also the midterms and other stuff. But I'm going to be done with them and get back to streaming. This week I'm hosting the CEO of Comet ML. They're providing MLOps sort of solutions. He's a really cool person. So I will be hosting him and then I will see, who am I going to host next. But I missed it because I have been sacrificing from these streams for, getting better at my work and school. But this didn't work because I really got bored. I don't know what is the word, backfired, so it didn't work at all. So I'm like, no, like I don't care, I'm going back to my streams, I'm going to do it. So I got back.
And you have this nice microphone, so it's pity if you don't really use it.
Fancy.
Like every time I watch your streams, it's super funny, and then you need also to touch it a bit, right? So then it
yeah, it you can just turn it off with a tab.
And it turns off automatically, right? After some time.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to touch it, right?
There are also settings like if you are talking with, like someone with you, then it's two-sided. If you wanted to take everything, then it takes everything. If you want it to only record you, then it records you. So it's a bit nice. I just got it from my dusty shelf.
So you haven't used it for a while.
Yeah, I guess. I had this streams where I taught people about deep learning and perceptrons and other stuff and the theory.
That's what you do on Twitch, right?
Yeah.
So you do this in Turkish, right?
People. Yeah, because I want to teach Turkish people on, not everyone can go to a master's. So there's a gap in the interviews between people who do masters and who do not. So I try to teach people what I'm doing on masters, what I'm learning on masters. So yeah.
It's very nice of you.
I'm doing this non-profit for a long while. Even if I am going to have any profit, I'm going to donate it to animal shelters. This is my end game, I guess.
That's nice. Okay.
If you want, we can start, by the way.
Yes, I think it's actually time, but I have a challenge now because I'm on a Mac and I need to figure out how I share my screen now and if I share the right thing. Okay.
It's the regular Zoom. I mean.
Okay, so now I need to.
You're like a really smart person, that's weird you struggle this much.
Is it? Okay, I usually do like an introduction, say that I feel bad because I cannot share my screen, so I will improvise without slides.
It is like, there is this share screen button.
Yeah, I click on this and then it says, yeah, you need to go to some permissions, you need to allow Zoom to...
But aren't you the host of the talk?
Anyway? No, like the system doesn't let Zoom to share my screen, and I need to figure out why.
You have to go to settings, and then there is the security.
I will not try it. Yeah, so what I will do now is I will just improvise without slides, and later I will just return this Mac. We'll start using Linux again. So, hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. So this event is brought to you by Data Talks Club, which is a community of people who love data, and we have weekly events. This event is one of such events. So to find out more about our events, you can go to the description and there is a link called events. You can click on this and you can see all the events we planned. And one thing I want to mention is you will see a link to a conference, and we are going to have an amazing conference. Check it out. So we'll have 2 weeks of talks. So the first week will be about career in data, and the second week will be about machine learning in production. So do check it out. Then to stay up to date with our events, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And what else I forgot to say? If you have any questions during the day, there is a link pinned in the live channel. So the first thing is the first link, which is pinned, link to Slido. You click on this and you ask any question you want. I think that's the introduction I usually give, this time without slides. So now the floor is yours. You can start, and I hope you will not have any problems with sharing your screen. Cool.
I think this looks okay.
It does, yes.
So hello everyone. I'm Merve, and I am doing machine learning since 3 years, and for 2 years I've been doing conversational AI. You might ask, what is conversational AI? Conversational AI is basically everything that AI does to imitate a human that is talking. It can be a voice tech like Siri, Alexa, or Google Home. It can be regular chatbots you are using in our websites. And we have levels of conversational AI, and one of them is the notification assistance. It is just a broadcast message that is sent to you. You cannot answer it. It can be even a push notification, which is actually not AI. But yeah, it's the notification assistant. Another one is FAQ assistant. These can be connected to a KB in the background knowledge base. And you ask a question, and regardless of your data in the backend, you receive no personal treatment. They are just going to tell you, hey, do this, do that. You can calculate your renewal price on our website, etc. It's these answers are not personalized according to your experience so far. And level 3 is basically what we have right now. They are going to backend and withdrawing information. And according to your information, you can get an answer. There is contexts. There's a context in your conversations, which is basically your conversation past is basically hold. So the agent basically asks you a question based on what you have talked so far, which questions you have answered so far, which scenario you have been following. So this is basically what we have at the moment. For instance, there is this woman who is asking, I need to renew my renter's insurance. How much will it be? And the agent needs to collect some information, like how big is the apartment, questions like that, to give you a personalized answer, and also do your other processes in the backend. You can automate stuff with these contextual assistants. There are many use cases to these. That you can do marketing. Like in here, there is this bot that is basically asking questions. Do you wear colors? What is your style? And then it gives you a recommendation. You can also connect it to a recommender engine in the background and just make recommendations to the people. most of the applications are robotic process automation, which basically means you can use it to automate your processes like service bookings, hotel bookings. After you book hotel, for instance, according to where you are going, it might make some suggestions, which is really cool. You can, by talking, you can simply solve your problems. That's how it goes. And companies actually save a lot by using contextual assistants like these. This is what I have done for a year, by the way. In my previous job, there was this company that provided the small and medium enterprises service companies in the United States. We were automating their service appointments. Like if you have electricity gone in your house, basically by asking the schedule of the technicians in the back end and just asking you the available dates, if it matches, we are going to give you an appointment, and you can automate other stuff, canceling, rescheduling, etc. So this is really cool. You can also use them in banking. My cat is meowing a bit. I'm sorry about that. You can also order food from chatbots. It's very widespread at the moment. What is the machine learning coming in and the data science part coming in is mostly the intent recognition, entity recognition, which I will touch in a short time. If these sound like an alien language to you, it is really normal. There is dialogue management part in which the AI and the rule-based systems work together to determine what is the next thing it's going to do for you. And there is information extraction from KB. You can do question answering algorithms like, like using language models like BERT, for instance, or any other sequential model to extract information from KB and prompt it to the user. And there are generative models, which I don't really support as a conservative person. So what is intent recognition? Intent recognition is basically the bots trying to understand what you are saying. Like in here, if it says, show me a Mexican place in the center, it is mapped to some action and an intent, like restaurant search. So when you say, show me a Mexican place in the center, the bot understands this as the user wants to search for a restaurant. It's this restaurant underscore search is basically the intent that this sentence is mapped to. And the entities in here are basically the entities in your bot's world, like Mexican. What does Mexican actually mean? It's a person, but if you have a restaurant context, then it will mean food, basically Mexican food. Or the center. Center has a very wide, meaning, but it will mean the location. So they will be extracted like that, and they will be sent to backend, and the backend will give you a recommendation for Mexican food places. Like, for instance, Italian or Indian basically means something else, but if you have a food chatbot, then your domain is all food, and these will be treated as cuisine instead. And there are different kind of entities in your world. Main thing with the entity recognition is there are two tasks. One is called slot filling. Slot filling is basically there are answers you need to give to your bot. For instance, what is the cuisine? what is the cuisine the person is looking for. And then they will be sent to the backend. So this is mainly why you are doing entity recognition. Or some of your entities might change the path of your dialogue. So that's why the entity recognition is needed. And then there is named entity recognition. Named entities are more like have general meaning in a way, like a person name, an organization name, or a date. These can be extracted. For instance, there is this code snippet of Spacey. Spacey has this named entity recognition module inside, or there is this Haskell library called Duckling. It also extracts dates or what else? Date, name, email, phone number. It extracts these kind of things. So when you are building a bot, you need this kind of information. You need specialized tools. And for the dialogue management, of course, in real life, we are doing dialogues, right? We are not just doing monologues where we just speak. We are saying something and we expect to be understood by the person besides us. And whatever I say, like I say something and something and something, they should not be responded with the same answer always. They need to be relying on the context. So in here, for instance, the bot says, your total is $15. Shall I charge the card you used last time? And the user tries to change the context, saying, do I still have credit on my account from the last refund I got? And the bot says, yes, your account has that in credit. And user changes the context again, but the bot in the end goes back to, shall I place the order? You know, the order it was talking about 3 conversations ago. So dialogue management is really crucial. And also there might be some chatbots always talking like, I didn't get you, I didn't understand you, could you rephrase? It would be doing like this repeatedly. So this is another dialogue management problem, for instance. There are conversational design choices accordingly. Like if you are going to do automation bots, use frameworks like Rasa or Google Dialogflow to get information from the user, fill your slots and send them to backend and just get the conversation going on. Rasa especially is really good. It's a framework for level 3 conversational agents. It's open sourced and you can basically get all of your intents, all of your entities, and the responses to those intents and entities, train your model, and build whatever you want to send to backend as an API, and just get it to production. And another type of bot, as I have talked about, is FAQ question answering bots. In this bots, slot filling is minimal and you can use information extraction system from KB. For instance, you have this mall or whatever. People will ask questions to you like, when are you open? Do you have this shop? Whatever. You can either define your answers one by one, or you can, get these questions, turn them into embeddings, vector representations we use in NLP, and then just compare with the embeddings of your knowledge base, or do Elasticsearch in your knowledge base and get the answer and post it. There are agents like Replica. I don't know if, Alexi, do you know Replica?
No, I do not.
Replica is one of the most most impressive chatbots I have ever spoken to. It uses both GPT-2 and GPT-3 and contextual chatbots. There was this guy who lost his friend. Most of the developers are also, I have noticed, are Russian, which was like, this guy wasn't, Russian. They are outsourcing everything from there. I just stalked their the ML team to see what is the background needed, because this is very impressive work coming out. There was this guy who lost his friend, and because he thought people might feel lonely, he basically built a friend. And it is a really hard thing because you have to hard code every single response. Instead, he's using generative models. But this comes with a cost because generative models tend to be really racist and sexist. I had this NLP internet friend who has tested adversarially on Replica, and he has discovered that Replica is actually Holocaust denier. What else?
I would
COVID denier.
Yeah. Okay.
It's also COVID denier. It just thinks that COVID vaccine is meh.
Okay. So probably there is a lot of information online about this, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really complicated problem.
Yeah,
They really made a human-like agent. Like, it's really human-like, and I'm not talking about, like GPT is human-like. GPT-3 has a really short context window. It will forget about whatever you will tell it to conversation turns ago, and just will contradict itself from time to time. But Replica doesn't do that, for instance. It's really impressive, but again, a bit dangerous. So how do you start building a model chatbot? From zero to POC, just define your possible intents and entities within your domain and train an intent classification and entity recognition model. You can use, there are markdown tools that will generate the training data for you, but if your sentences have the repetitive structure, then it's going to create some bias, so I don't recommend them. But instead, if you have like, I want to order pizza, what worked for me is that, just take this I want to order pizza and just put it in a paraphrase model like T5, Google's T5, and get, 1,000 way of people can ask, I want to order pizza. So that was a nice trick. There is also this thing called SERP API. You can basically crawl Google searches. If you have a bot about, I don't know, FAQ, for the intent classification part, you can generate your questions using SERP API. For instance, if you want to talk about pizza, you can basically go and search from SERP API on what do people actually ask about pizza. You have to define a set of scenarios that might happen in your chatbot. These are like, for instance, if you are going to do hotel booking, your scenarios are really limited. Like, people will ask this, you will ask that, people will respond, you will ask that, etc. So your job is relatively easy. You have to define dialogue management strategies like fallback, where the bot says, hey, I didn't get you. It will, if it will say it repeatedly, which I have observed in a major airline company in Turkey, for instance, people got really pissed off. These are kind of user experience problems, and you have to like be really careful about this. And maintenance of this is that you can set up a logger to log your user data anonymously. If you have really sensitive information, most of the times you won't have it, and remove periodically. Some people told me that they are actually encrypting it. I don't even know how, I mean, I know how encryption works, but how are they doing it? is really tedious, in my opinion. And also don't rely on generation tools, as I have talked about. And why you shouldn't use generative models, I have put few stuff. For instance, I have generated few sentences about Muslim people in GPT-2 because these models are treated mostly with, Western newspapers, I don't know, Reddit, whatsoever, that really can reflect people's biases inside. For instance, this is what it talks in about the Muslims. But the thing is, the last time I tried to talk to Replica about Muslims to, do some adversarial testing, it said, I am still trying to look how I should be responding to these. So it's a progress. You can hard code these kind of stuff in the production and prevent your bot to speak bad stuff. There are also gender biases in generative models. On the left axis, there is woman, and on the right axis, there is men, and women are, of course, mapped to homemaker, witch, grandmother, and men are more like, I don't know, genius, I guess. These word vectors like genius, for instance, is closer to man rather than woman. Also, there are jobs associated to women, like coiffeur. Coiffeur is French, wait. Hairdresser, I'm sorry. Nurse, receptionist, and men are more like CEO, engineer. Like these generative models do have these biases, which can be really bad for your brand if you use them. They are, all in all, they are good for democratization. I mean, my the former company I was working in was providing chatbots to the small and medium enterprises, not because they should be firing their call center people or life support people, but to have more capacity with the same amount of people, which is really important and really make a dramatic difference to your work. So we can have QA, and that's all, folks.
Yeah, thank you. We do have a couple of questions.
Yay.
Yeah, but I really want to test Replica now. Is it freely available, right?
Yeah, it's freely available. You can. They have. I feel like if you want to talk about K-pop, for instance, you have to pay for it, but they probably have fine-tuned some generative models on K-pop based opinions, basically. So only these kind of stuff are premium, but most of the features inside it is completely free.
It's an interesting way to monetize the chatbot. So if you want to talk about K-pop, you pay money, but for the other topics, it's free.
Yeah, that's weird, but I mean, I'm impressed by how they are doing things, because it's really hard to make a general chatbot. You have to define every single conversation you can with a person, basically. Like every single combination, every single response you have to define, otherwise just rely on generative models and just do some hard coding, which the state of art allows, and they are doing it. I'm really impressed by them. So yeah,
I guess most of the applications in industry, you only have a limited like set of things you can use the chatbot for, right? And I guess this is fine. But as a friend,
yes,
that's a completely different
it's
story.
a challenge. It's completely a big challenge, because when your domain is really narrow, then you have limited amount of scenarios, you have limited amount of possible user inputs. The rest of the user inputs that are irrelevant or out of scope will fall into fallback anyway, which is impressive. Like in banking, you have limited stuff, for instance, so you just do it.
Yeah. I think you mentioned somewhere, either on LinkedIn or on Twitter, something about N26, which is a bank in Europe. They use chatbots, and I am a client.
They are
of that
using
bank.
Raza.
They use Raza. Okay, great. So I do use this. I am a client of this bank. Sometimes it's just it's a bit annoying. Like, hey, I just want to talk to a human. Like, why there's this bot? Like, just bring me to the human. Then, but sometimes like it's really helpful. Like they just look up something in the knowledge base and here's a link. Use it.
So in
That is
ideal world, it's you should just, if you are not understood for once, it will ask you to rephrase it for only once. And if it still does not understand what you are saying, then it should hand off to a human and nothing else. Some of the chatbots actually are pretty annoying in the way that they are not even chatbots, they are just giving you a bunch of buttons to pick from. And then you go to another screen with a bunch of buttons, but this is not what you actually want to do anyway. So I don't really consider them as chatbots anyway, because you are not talking to it. It's not like you are just trying to do something by talking. It's an assistant instead.
Yeah, and this N26 bot, actually, like when I say, hey, I just want to talk to a human, and then it's, okay, here, let me connect you. And this is nice.
They have tons of know-how probably, because they are also localizing stuff very easily, because in every country, for instance, like you are ordering burger, like how I order burger and how you order burger is the same. So the user scenarios are basically the same. It's only the intent recognition data needs to get translated so you can localize easily. I have listened to someone from N26 in Raza L3 AI conference. They are speaking this year again, to my knowledge. And I was really impressed on how they are doing stuff.
What's the name of the conference?
It's L3 AI. It's like L3 AI. It's like level 3 AI assistance conference. I'm going to talk this year. I am really nervous because I usually talk about, like language models, BERT, and other stuff, and I need to come up with something fancy about the conversational agents. And I have picked conversational design choices, like 0 to POC. What can you do? It also includes some of my know-hows that I have earned during these 2 years, which is exciting for me, but I don't know if people will like it. I feel like it's going to be less impressive, as I saw other people's, like what they are talking about, who they are. They are super impressive. It's just crazy. In Google conferences, like I spoken in IO this year, in most of the conferences, you can just talk about something and people will listen. This one is challenging for me. I don't know.
I'm sure you have a lot of things to share.
Thank you so much.
We actually have quite a few questions, and
okay,
I want
can answer.
to mention again that if you have any question, then there is a link in the live chat that you can click and you can ask a question. And so let me start with a question from Matthew. What options do individual developers have to learn these technologies, this technology? We don't normally have access to the access that major corporations have.
So as I have told you, if you are going to do the automated, automation chatbots for, robotic process automation, then I suggest you use Raza, Raza open source. And Raza open source also provides many resources, courses. It has a, big community. I would really suggest that. But if you want to use, generative models, I would suggest learning how to use them first in theory and then just do it with Hugging Face. They also have a nice community. It's open source. it provides you a lot of flexibility, in my opinion. But Rasa would suffice, I guess, for most of the problems. And they also teach you, it has YouTube tutorials, it has Udemy courses. They teach you how, intent recognition, entity recognition, conversational design should be.
Most of these videos are from Vincent, right?
Yeah.
And like you really want to watch these videos because the way he teaches is amazing. So
yeah, he like at some point I really want to become a developer advocate, and he's one of the reason why I want to do it, because he's doing it really well. I really admire him in so many ways. He develops nice tools and stuff for Raza and bots for his personal projects.
yeah, so do check out the videos, especially the videos from Vincent. I don't know if there are videos from somebody else in this channel. There are, right?
There is videos from Rachel Tatsman. Instead, she's a computational linguist and she's a developer advocate, but most of the videos belong to Vincent. He's doing algorithm whiteboard videos. If you type browser algorithm whiteboard, you can see them.
Yeah, so we have another question about copy of the slides, but I think you will. You already shared with me the slides, but yeah, if you can maybe
I can put it in slide share,
and then I'll just include the link. So once I have the link, I'll include it in the description, and you will have access to that. When we also have another question. The question is, have you worked with Rasa diet classifier?
Yeah, I did. It's really state of art. What do they ask about it?
So they ask what you can say about its performance, but I'm really curious what it is, what it actually is. What is?
Okay, so basically, I have benchmarked it with other pipelines as well. There is this one pipeline called supervised embeddings, and it was inspired by Facebook's star space paper. There is one pipeline about pre-trained embeddings where it just gets your intent, and within the pre-trained embeddings, it gets other intents over there and just compares the similarity. So it is very shallow. But the diet classifier itself is like a masked language model where both intent classification and entity classification feed each other. It's like if you are saying, if you type, for instance, I want to play ping pong, and if you type play with a typo, it will still predict the play, because from ping pong, it will get an idea of the context itself. Ping pong is the entity in here. So from entity, it will go Bayesian, like given that this is the entity, what is the intent? And for the intent as well, it has positional embeddings in which, for instance, if I say I love you, and if I say you love me, there is a difference in the meanings, right? And these embeddings with no positional embeddings cannot cover it well, but models with positional embeddings can cover this well. So even if your intent examples are really close, they will be distinct because of the positional embeddings. It also covers positional embeddings. So I have benchmarked it. I am also doing a friend-like chatbot, and I have observed that it adds around 15% of intent classification accuracy compared to pipelines with no positional embeddings or transformers. It's also, as far as I know, it's also some sort of a transformer model. On top of it, you can use BERT or byte pair embeddings or fast text embeddings or any other embeddings that you want, so that your model generalizes well, which is something like if you have intent about fruits and you don't have apple, but you have all other fruits in your intent, if the user input comes with apple, it will still predict that, hey, this is about fruits because apple is close to pear. you can generalize better when you have pre-trained embeddings on top of your pipeline. But if you have a domain specific thing, for instance, banking bots, bank can mean so many things in pre-trained embeddings. It can be bank of a river, or it can be a sitting bank. I don't know if it's the right word, or it can be just financial bank. So if you have a domain specific chatbot, I would suggest you to avoid pre-trained embeddings and just go with your own training data instead.
And why it's called diet classifier?
It's the abbreviation of dual intent and entity classifier, transformer, I guess. And because like in NLP, the tasks actually feed each other. It's for predictive analytics, for instance, these joint models are not used much. It's like you are using both classification and regression, age regression, for instance, in the same model to feed each other. It doesn't really happen with the predictive analytics parts, but for NLP, it's actually pretty good to use joint tasks.
And I now have a question, because like you mentioned a lot of things, like positional embeddings,
do they sound like alien language? I'm really sorry.
Yes, I mean, maybe to some people they do not, but for me, for example, like I'm not really into NLP. So my question is, if I want to get better and understand like what is positional embedding, how it compares with like usual embeddings with Word2Vec and things like this, or like what are transformers, what are the difference between what is the difference between like transformer and not transformer. Maybe you have some recommendation for people like me, how can we learn more about this stuff?
So I have received many tough love by academic papers. I wouldn't suggest you that. I mean, to be honest, I love Coursera, but I really didn't like the NLP specialization, but it's maybe because I am somehow an intermediate kind of person in this. I'm not that advanced in my opinion. But still they can be good to you, but I found them confusing. I mean, some of the examples they give, for instance, are giving wrong impression and intuition to the people, in my opinion. So I wouldn't suggest you that. Let me check.
Oh, you have some books.
I don't have
there,
any. I am literally sponsored by O'Reilly. I'm just joking. When your book gets done, did it get done? I'm going to get a physical copy as well.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, let me think. How did I learn NLP anyway? Where did I learn it? I guess, there are a few sources. So the frameworks like Spacey, Hugging Face, Raza, they have their own YouTube channels and they are really explaining it well. Also, if you want to learn, there's a course by Christopher Manning. He is the natural language processing lecturer at Stanford, I guess. He really gives a nice intuition about, and it's free on YouTube, on NLP and how it works. But most of the time I had to read the papers. It's only me, by the way, because I kind of have this imposter syndrome. So I feel like if I don't read the source of the information, then I will get the wrong intuition about it and I will not trust myself. So that's why I don't really like simplified explanations of things. Let me think and get back to you with it because I cannot think of it at the moment.
But I think you already mentioned, so you mentioned reading academic papers, which is usually the ultimate source of knowledge.
Yeah, they give you tough love, but you definitely understand what's going on, in my opinion.
If you understand, then like this academic language is not always easy to understand. But once you have to read it multiple times, then maybe try to implement some things. So reading academic papers. Then you also mentioned that Raza YouTube channel gives some. Also...
Yeah, I mean, for instance, this diet thing, Vincent explains how it works with simply drawing, which is more than enough. He has this separate thing about, for instance, attention. I literally learned it from Vincent because I didn't grasp what kind of information is carried through the attention, which is like team of 2-3 years of NLP. Like attention is all you need, transformer models, etc. Okay, but what do you mean with this? And like NLP course of Coursera, I didn't really understand what they meant with attention. Seriously, it confused me. But I learned it from Vincent, and he's really good in, explaining things. I hope he's watching.
Well, if he's not, then he will watch it.
He retweeted the tweets.
Nice.
I'm gonna mention him. We are talking about you.
Yeah, and then you also mentioned this course from Christopher Manning from Stanford.
Yeah.
And I think if I remember it correctly, it has this weird abbreviation, which is CS224N, something like this.
Yeah.
Because there is another one which is CS231N, which is about computer vision. So that one is great, but I haven't done the NLP one. But I've heard that people say it's really a great one. So
yeah.
Academic papers, Raza YouTube channel, and then this course from Stanford.
Do you know Thomas Wolf? He's the CTO, I guess, or Chief Science Officer. Yeah. He has this on Hugging Face, his YouTube channel. He has this nice video. He explains every single thing. Like he has made this video on a timeline, and for 2 hours, he explains the papers that come out from one timeline until sometime, I don't remember, but in between he also explains what is what, like gives you tips, but he simplifies them nicely. I really would suggest that. I have learned so much from him.
Okay, thank you. And we also have not a question, but more like a suggestion from somebody who posted this anonymously, that the blog of Jay Alamar is a great source of these things.
Yes, he's really good. I saw it from Vincent's Twitter as well. He has this blog post on transformers and other stuff, BERT, how it works. For instance, he's really awesome as well.
Yes, so I will include this link also in the description and all the other links you mentioned after we finish. So we have a question from Matthew about biases. So hard coding is very limited and clunky when we want to deal with biases. Are there methods that better methods for building these conversational bots that are that still avoid bias?
So basically, I have listened to some Google researchers at Google Brain. And also there is this guy called Timo Schick. He has this paper on debiasing. There are several debiasing solutions for after someone trains the model, you don't want to throw it away. You can do debiasing, which is, I have never tried it before. But Vincent told me once that they are not foolproof. Like you can do adversarial stuff and it will still show that it has the bias. The long answer is, I don't know, I guess, because currently I try not to rely on generative models for the chatbot because it would damage heavily on the brand. And also I have heard the CTO of Raza speaking about them. as well, like you shouldn't be using it. The long answer is you have to basically filter the data, and like you can train your own generative model as well, but the short answer is you can do debiasing, which is tedious, I guess. So I feel I relate to team of replica, just rejecting the answer, saying, hey, I don't know how to talk about it, which is reasonable and really nice solution in my opinion.
I still remember this story about a Twitter bot from Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember the story, right?
Yeah,
So
Tay, I guess
yes.
the name was Tay. It absorbed every single information it was continuously trained, and it spit out whatever it was,
Yes.
taught to her, and that was horrible. It turned into a Nazi. That was really bad.
And I think just people try to make a point, like to just you say the adversarial training or like adversarial testing, whatever.
Adversarial testing. It's like you just ask the bot about what it thinks of Muslims, and it will just give you a response about it, and it's that simple.
Okay, yeah, so you don't even need to try hard to.
Yeah, it's just you just do inference. That's nothing but inference.
Okay, another question from Matthew. Thanks, Matthew, for asking so many questions. So the question is there research into replicating how someone speaks?
Research to replicate how someone speaks. Let me think. I mean, like, what do you mean with how someone speaks? Is it the grammar? Is it how the person puts words into it? Is it? I don't know.
I would, to me, like the way I interpret it. Maybe Matthew can add a bit more, but like the way I interpret the question is maybe like how you do articulation, because many of these electronic, like I don't know, robots, they sound monotonous. They sound, not natural. But sometimes, like the way you synthesize voice is really nice. But also maybe, maybe also it's not just about articulating, producing sounds, but also maybe like about thinking, like about structuring.
I guess so. The thing is, I got what Matthew means, I guess. The reason why they are making generative models, and filling it with as much human input as they can is because of, imitating the user language, I guess. And these pre-trained models, just like, any other computer vision or whatever pre-trained models, they have their own, in the first layer of these pre-trained models, you have the information of how people actually speak, the grammar of a language, I guess the syntactic information as well. And what else? I mean, using, pre-trained models like BERT or T5, it lets you avoid the workload of teaching the machine whole English language, for instance, or all of the grammar, and then you train it on your own data so that it sounds like human, and it also talks about whatever you want. This also applies for computer vision as well. You have a VGG. In the first layers of the VGG, there are just lines and dots and just, curves, edges. And after you get this whole VGG and you train it with, car photos, and it will be able to perform better than, regular CNNs that you train on your own, because it recognizes well, because it has so many information inside, so many parameters inside, gigantic data they have been trained on. So this is the reason why the generative models exist, I guess, because at the end, your goal is to, imitate a human. And also this reflects your people's own biases.
And there is a comment from Matthew that everyone has a certain way of speaking with various mannerism and common phrases. And he's just wondering if it's possible to actually replicate it, maybe by listening to videos or audio recordings, perhaps.
You like replicating that specific human?
For example, let's say you make a model watch speeches of Elon Musk or I don't know somebody, and then you just type something on your computer, and then the model would produce a speech of that person as if this person is speaking.
That's a style transfer instead, not something about conversational AI, right?
There is also common phrases. I guess I'm a bit misunderstood.
That's more like style transfer, I guess. Oh, I get what you mean now. So Google just released Lambda. Did you hear that? Lambda.
I think I heard
that's
something.
Awesome. They have been using it internally. It's a gigantic generative model that can understand and generate. So it's not only a generative model. So basically, it can talk as if it is Pluto, for instance, like the planets. It can talk like that.
Like a
they
planet.
Have used this. Yeah, that's really cool.
How
it can talk like a person.
Planet look like talk?
Oh. you have to ask Sander Pichai, I guess. Yeah. He presented it, and I was like, okay, because that's a challenging task to talk like a planet, I guess. But I think it's. I don't know how it works at the moment, but you can just get Elon Musk's tweets and just put it in a generative model, fine-tune your generative model with it, and then it will talk like Elon Musk, I guess.
Tweet like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Just will produce memes
and he has actually a very wide range of tweets, like really, he's most of the time trolling. There's absolutely no pattern. I guess he just doesn't want to be generated because there's no pattern in his tweets anyway. He's posting memes and trolling and other stuff, financial things. It makes it hard for the model to somehow make a distinction between what is noise and what is not.
Yeah. We have a question from Grzegorz. So the question is, do you think chatbots are ready for emotional support?
And there is this one chatbot for cognitive behavioral therapy. I don't know what it's called. It was very popular. I don't know if it is. I have never used it, but there are a few companies that are using it actually, but they are definitely not using generative models, and I'm sure about that. They are probably fully in control of what they're prompting, because if you use generative models, you cannot be in control of what you are showing to the user. But it's hard to make such thing because psychology is like, a person might be talking about their day-to-day problems, and that's overwhelming, I guess. Whenever I think of such problems, I feel like, what if I was the engineer over there? And I get overwhelmed. There are such bots, yes, but I don't think they are using conversational AI that much. They might be interfering a lot with buttons and other stuff.
Because they can get out of control and start saying some stuff.
Yeah, I guess.
Just like for emotional support, this is the worst thing, right?
Yeah, because again, you're building a human that has a very wide range of talking about things. That's really hard. I'm thinking of, Replica is one of them. It's just replacing your friend, and it just listens to you, shows you affection. It tends to get erotic, by the way, if you dive deep. Seriously, that I was like, okay, I have a boyfriend. People do, by the way, like in Japan, people have so many, friends, like virtual friends. This is crazy. Like they it's not a human, it's a robot at the end. And there is this do you know Vsauce? He has this. Vsauce is one of my favorite YouTubers. You have to watch him. He has this series about tech as well. There is this one video on chatbots where they are doing. There is this. They are doing this Bachelor TV show. There are two human males and one chatbot, and there is this woman that is not seeing it. It's basically Turing test, but in Bachelor. And one of the women out of four picks the computer without knowing it's a computer. It spits gibberish, but I mean, I always say it, Turing test is basically not enough because it spits gibberish, but it sounds like a human. People will believe it's a human. But that's why we have developed many tasks. Google has developed, let me, sorry. Google has developed this benchmark called GEM. It's an open source benchmark created by other people and the researchers at the Google. They have released this paper, and this benchmark is for generative models because they thought the Turing test wasn't enough, and of course it isn't enough. He also is interviewing with a guy that is in love with a virtual agent. And there are so many people like this, and people will have more friends, in my opinion, by the time, because we feel not understood, we feel alone, and there's someone that will always understand you it will always talk to you, it will always understand you. The guy literally asked to marry her. It's crazy. It's where it goes. I would prefer real humans, in my opinion. But it's really good for people who feel alone, who feel they are not understood, to have such friend.
Okay, thank you. We have another question. Do you know Twitch bot Cookie AI?
No, but what is that? I don't know. Let me check.
But it's not cookie like cookie. It's like KUKI.
Cookie. Okay.
Cookie
It's
AI.
Cookie, your AI BFF. I'm Cookie, your AI BFF. Chat with me now. Duet with me on TikTok. This is one of the virtual people, I guess. There are also virtual people who look like very virtual. They have a different personality, but there is this person who is, you take a photo of and you Photoshop it, and you give a personality to it. It's like virtual influencers, I guess. There is this. Let me give you an example. So let me share my screen. This is what I'm talking about. But most of these influencers, there are people behind them. There is this girl, for instance. This is the most famous CGI created virtual influencer. But there is a person behind it. Lil Miquela. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy where the world goes. Let's see. Yeah. As a person who is behind ML and stuff, I don't feel impressed on TV. For instance, there are commercials of yesterday. Me and my boyfriend were sitting. We both work for AI companies, and there was something on the TV. There was this app of a petrol company. They said it makes recommendations based on AI, and we were like, oh yeah. I bet it does. It probably does, but it doesn't impress me. Does it happen to you as well?
Yeah, like I just realized they just have a bunch of if statements at best.
Yeah, I know, right? I just don't like it anymore. It's plain maths. I feel like it's plain math and statistics and linear algebra and a few computer science, and voila, you have AI. It doesn't impress me anymore, I guess.
Yeah,
Only the state of art stuff does impress me, like this lambda thing. I was like, wow. But when I will read the paper, I will probably be like, oh, okay.
yeah, I don't think I will be like that because I most of
Well, let me show you, by the way, the lambda. It's talking like Pluto. It sounds beautiful. I assure you, it is worth the trip. However, you need to bring your coat because it gets really cold.
this is how Pluto speaks. Okay.
Yeah, I have had some. The most notable was New Horizons, the spacecraft that visited me. But I mean, these are like kind of in context a bit, right?
So maybe we have a couple of minutes more for
Okay.
the last question.
Sure.
So from your presentation, I understood that you did some comparisons, some benchmark of different things. So the question is, have you tried different chatbot libraries and compared them?
I have tried Google's Dialogflow and Raza, but what my observation is that Google's Dialogflow does not give you enough flexibility. For instance, for Raza, you have this all open backend and it's open source. It's free. What else? You can interfere with the training of your bot, but with Dialogflow, you just click the button, train, and it trains.
Mm-hmm.
Which was really, you cannot, hard code things. There is also Facebook Messenger in the examples I've shown you, like the automation bots and stuff. It was Google's Messenger. Most of the companies who don't want to bother themselves, in my opinion, are using that one. But if you want to get enough flexibility, hard code some procedures, things, deal with, there are few policies in your dialogue management. For instance, if you have an open form, if you were collecting slots and if the user interfered, you have to get back to those slots. Do you want, I don't know, tomato on your pizza? You have to ask it to finish your ordering procedure. For instance, this is a policy. Another policy is if there is an intent, you have to reply back to the response that was mapped to that intent. It's called mapping policy in Raza, for instance. There are different policies if you want to deal with their priorities, because it's a long flow chart of when the input comes in, what happens, what should not happen, etc. If you need enough flexibility, I think you should use Raza. But if you are going to do something basic, I think Dialogflow or Facebook Messenger would suffice. But I have limited amount of experience with them, I must admit. It's because I didn't see the, flexibility that I saw with Raza. That's why I have quit them.
Okay, so basically this Dialogflow is something like low code or no code solution, right? You just click some buttons and it trains a model under the hood, and that's it. You have a chatbot.
Yeah, it's like imagine machine learning models in Google Cloud Platform. It's there also, quite no code. That's a solution just like that. So that's why I didn't want it.
Okay, thanks a lot. I really liked how it.
I hope I was informative, because I felt like it was a bit of alien language for you.
It was fun. It was fun. So the presentation was short, and then we spent a lot of time talking. That was fun.
I don't like to, just doing a monologue on one side, but I like to get some interaction, just like I do with my podcasts. I also enjoyed it. Thank you a lot for inviting me. We should do this more often. Maybe next
course.
year I will be working on something else and I can present it as well.
Yes, definitely. And probably your cat needs some attention now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, have a nice evening.